Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and a very good morning to all the audience attending this virtual online conference. Firstly, I would like to thank the IAEEC 2021 organizer for being the key speaker for today's event. The theme, Envisioning a New Horizon for Architectural Education, is a vast topic and needed to be meticulously reviewed from various aspects holistically. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Associate Professor Dr. Alice Sabrina Ismail, and I'm the Director of Architecture Program at the Faculty of Built Environment and Surveying, University Technology, Malaysia. And currently, I'm teaching the Bachelor Science of Architecture and Masters of Architecture program, and actively involved in journal writing, book publication, and research supervision at the postgraduate level in architecture history, theory, and criticism. In addition, I'm also involved in research on architecture education, politics and architecture, national identity, elderly housing, and Islamic architecture. Currently, I'm leading the National Research Project under the grant awarded by Ministry of Higher Education on the future direction for Malaysia architecture education in collaboration with the Boards of Architect Malaysia, MAPS, and also COHAS, which stands for Councils of Heads Architecture School. Today's topic for my presentation is the new direction of architectural education, perspectives of Malaysia Higher Learning Institution, which is the planning direction for 10 years down the road from 2021 until 2030. The gap year may be huge, and along the way may be many challenges, twists and turns, and new expectations that will influence the context of architecture education. However, the aspiration is to have a direction and guideline first on what to achieve and what to expect for the betterment and evolution of architecture education in Malaysia. For that matter, the content of my today's presentation will look into 5 main aspects. First is the overview of the architecture education, followed by the scenario of architecture education in Malaysia, framework of research, the aspiration and expectations, and finally is the proposition and recommendation for future architecture education. Ladies and gentlemen, architectural education was among the earliest educations to date back to medieval times in the 5th century and began to be recognized by the world community as an official education in the early 19th century. In this regard, the architectural education is seen unique in that it can encourages the expression of creativity and the appreciation of intellectual satisfaction with the foundation to provide professional architects career pathways and those related in the field of engineering and construction. In other words, architectural education is crucial to produce the profession of the architect responsible for creating a quality environment to uphold the prosperity of the community in order to keep pace with the rapid development of the construction industry towards ensuring the development of the country. Before we move on further looking into the architectural education and challenges in the country, it is best to get an overview on the historical development of architectural education in Malaysia. The architectural education in Malaysia, as you can see in my slide, began in 1925 as a technician level training program. It continues to develop as a complete architectural education program to the level of Bachelor of Architecture in 1967. And the earliest universities offering this Bachelor of Architecture programs were University Technology Malaysia, University Technology Mara, and University Science Malaysia. And in an effort towards Vision 2020 and intending to make Malaysia a higher education destination in the region, in the 1990s, the Ministry of Education Malaysia has approved to establish architectural programs to 4 other public universities, namely University Malaya in 1995, International Islamic University Malaysia in 1996, and followed suit University Putra Malaysia in 1996 and University Kebangsaan Malaysia UKM in 2002. So 7 of them have been fully accredited by LAM Part 1 and 2, namely UIA, UKM, UPM, USM, UTM, and UITM Puncak Alam. Meanwhile, the other 3 public universities up to year 2021 are accredited only by the LAM Part 1, which are UITM Sri Iskandar, USIM, UMK, and USM Poly PD. As for the public higher education institution, 9 institutions offers architectural education programs, and these are City University, IUKL, LUCT, Taruk, Taylor's UCSI, UCTS, UTA, and KUTS. So to date, in year 2021, only 3 of them have been fully accredited for LAM Part 1 and Part 2 from the Board of Architects Malaysia, which are Taylor's, UCSI, and UTA, while the other 6 private institutions are accredited only for Part 1 IUKL, LUCT, City University, KUTA, and KUTS. Ladies and gentlemen, the main aim of architecture education in Malaysia is to produce holistic architectural graduates comprising of 6 attributes. You need to have ethics and spirituality, leadership skills, national identity understanding, language skill, thinking skill, and knowledge to venture into the job market and meet the needs of the current industry in order to contribute to the nation's development to be in line with the requirements of the national policies. And as you can see, for the past 10 years, architectural education in Malaysia has shown much development. However, there are actually issues in the application of the architecture education that need to be considered due to the influence of mega trends that are occurring at the local and global context. So this is vital actually to produce a more resilient and competent graduate that can hold on to the architect profession. To understand this, I will explain 4 main issues that relate to the architectural education, and these issues are obtained from surveys and interviews with related authorities and individuals in the architecture education itself. The first issue is on the implementation of the architecture curriculum. Second issue relating to the viewpoint from the graduates. The third issue relates to the academician desires, and the final issue is on the readiness of the teaching and learning facilities available in the current context. We will go first and I will explain one by one in turn. From the aspect of architecture curriculum, there are 2 main issues that still need to be addressed by the Malaysian architecture education. First is direct exposure to practice and curriculum that is adaptive with various modes of the requirement for full-time and working students, which are the conventional and flexible features, which is currently not addressed in the Malaysia architectural curriculum. And second is the need for a transdisciplinary architectural curriculum where students actually can specialize in other fields, not only limited to architecture alone. And this is actually vital to ensure that the production of the graduates who can provide services in the field of architectural specialization can also meet the needs of other creative fields in the built environment at home and abroad, or in other words, producing graduates with diversified talent. This issue not only lingers among architecture curriculum, but it also looks into the aspect of the architecture graduates itself. And the main issue is actually on the intake and output numbers of graduates, which indicates no increment in the past 10 years in Malaysia architecture education. This low output graduates actually affects the need to meet the national targets in terms of the number of professional architects LAM Part 3 and the employability of architecture graduates LAM Part 1 and LAM Part 2 at the local and the global context level. Pertubuhan Architect Malaysia, or PAM, actually proposes the ratio of the number of registered professional architects to the population for fast-growing countries such as Malaysia to be ideally at 1 to 1,000, meaning 1 architect serving 1,000 populace. But nevertheless, there are other studies which suggest a more realistic ratio target, which is 1 to 8,000, which is according to the UIA Accord. So based on this ratio by UIA Accord, it is estimated that the number of professional architects needed in the 5 years is approximately 2 times the number of professional architects that we have today, in which Malaysia requires a number of 4,868 architects in Malaysia by the year 2025, according to the whole entire ratio populace of Malaysian masses. So, in this sense, the architecture students' intake need to be increased, in which for LAM Part 1 need to be increased up to 30%, and LAM Part 2 need to be increased up to 50% each year. And the output rate of LAM Part 1 and Part 2 architecture graduate also need to be increased by 40% each year. Ladies and gentlemen, the issue of architecture education not only focusing on the curriculum, not only looking into the output and the input of graduates, but also involve the architecture academic staff itself. And as you can see, the architecture teaching staff as a whole recorded an average decrease of 20% in public universities in Malaysia, involving permanent staff looking back into the 10 years span. So the teaching of architecture, as most of us are aware, is very intensive and it requires a close supervision in studio session to ensure that learning actually can run effectively. Therefore, more academic staff as human resources are needed to ensure the quality of education and students. In this sense, the quantity of academician also need to be increased, as if you're looking back into the 10 years of the architecture education span in Malaysia, there had been no increase and it is relatively static in the last 10 years. Another issue to be highlighted also is on the readiness of the teaching and learning facilities for architecture education. There are actually constraints in infrastructure development, including equipment, fittings, and software for learning and teaching architecture. In the past 10 years in Malaysia, the architecture program has been constrained by the provision of infrastructure and infrastructure that aligned with Industrial Revolution 4.0. Therefore, immediate action and appropriate targets need to be worked on to ensure the quality of architecture education in Malaysia is guaranteed in the next 10 years to be in line with the latest needs. So, the big question is, how are we going to overcome this issue? Before I elaborate further, let us understand first the gist of architecture curriculum in Malaysia to get an overview on what are the aspects to focus on to elevate its importance. Ladies and gentlemen, the architecture curriculum in Malaysia currently consists of 5 core course components: design, cultural context, technology and environment, communication, management practice, and law. The study is centered on the design course, where the knowledge and skills gained from the core courses from other 3 groups, namely the culture context, technology and environment, and communication, will be integrated as one into the design coursework. In other words, the teaching and learning system of architecture in Malaysia is studio-based, which is used as a platform to implement design simulation projects to reveal and test students' ability to combine knowledge from various disciplines such as philosophy, art, social culture, management, and science technology. However, the education scenario in Malaysia is actually influenced by various external and internal factors, such as current mega trends, educational challenges 4.0, and Industrial Revolution 4.0, which not only affect the pattern of architecture education in the 21st century, but also determine the formation of the architecture education future direction. So the next slide will explain this matter in detail. As you can see in this slide, the megatrend factor has a big impact and challenges on the direction of architecture education in the future, especially in Malaysia itself, to produce a generation of professionals who can contribute to the country's development towards the current Industrial Revolution 4.0. The main aim problem, as you can see, the challenges are actually comprising of 3 main factors. First is the problem of demographic change and the aging society that will hit the world population in the next 10 years, especially in developing countries, in line with the speed of urbanization process. And following this, the education system needs to find a new methods to educate the aging population as a workforce. So lifelong learning will become more critical than ever when there is a gap in generation to keep pace with technological change. And second is the challenges of globalization that foster sustainable future growth. So this factor occurs because of the existence of economic shift on a large scale at the global level, and in the next 10 years, the majority of the world population will consist of the middle class. So this phenomenon will create impact and pressure in providing better quality education to meet higher expectation of greater mobility and accessibility to increasingly demanding customers. So the increase in international mobility will also increase, and this will in turn challenge university education to address more social heterogeneity in integrating groups of students from various backgrounds. The third challenge is on the impact of automation and data exchange in manufacturing technology that combines physical, digital, and biological cyber physical systems that affect all disciplines of life. Therefore, education needs to be focused more on teaching and learning pedagogy that is more flexible with a more flexible kind assessment system to improve skills and provide practical and added value to students in preparation to the marketability competition of graduates in the Industrial Revolution 4.0. Therefore, the educational curriculum needs to integrate IR 4.0 and 4.0 educational elements through its study programs, featuring inter, multi, and cross-disciplinary concept of Internet of Things (IoT), emphasizing on research and development of new theories and ideas exploration, such as big data and curriculum development delivery in blended learning by using its pedagogy, heterogogy, cybersecurity, and service learning. In this sense, the curriculum also needs to be aligned with the country's and related global policies to be sustainable with the economic development. So, ladies and gentlemen, by verifying the needs of architecture education for the future, this conducted research will focuses on four main thrusts that are seen closely related and influence the formation of architecture education in Malaysia, which is the aspect of curriculum, academia, facilities, and students. So in this regard, there are three main objectives and three main research questions are posited to develop the action plan or strategies relating to these four main aspects or the core thrusts for future architecture education in Malaysia. In order to conduct this research, a systematic research framework has been established where data are being collected using quantitative and qualitative methods. So the process is conducted in three phases during the 1 year duration, involving various inputs from prominent architecture educator figures, the key players from the industry, locally and globally, as well as feedback from 76 stakeholders during focus group discussion representing 18 agencies in Malaysia, 585 respondents representing four categories of the group practicing architect, academician, architecture students, and also graduates. And findings from all of these groups are then analyzed and synthesized to form the 27 action plans that will be the proposition for future architecture education in Malaysia. But on this note, this study will only focuses on architecture programs at the degree and bachelor level, which is subject to the recognition by Lembaga Architect Malaysia for LAM Part 1 and 2. So it does not touch on architecture education at the certificate, diploma, or at the PhD or Masters of Philosophy level. So for the benefit for today's presentation, I will only focus on the findings from questionnaires representing four categories of group comprising a total number of 585 respondents in Malaysia, and I will explain the findings in turn according to each group. If refers to the architectural student feedback, so these are actually the data respondents for the architecture students. And we will look into the data respondents gained from the graduates after their 5 years of graduations. And we also look into the respondents from the architecture academician representing the public higher education and also the private institution. And we get data respondent from practicing architects looking into three types of form of architecture practice: the sole proprietary, partnership, body corporate, and also multidisciplinary practice. So what are the architectural student feedback based on the questionnaire? And as you can see from this slide, 85% agrees that they need to enhance in terms of the quality of teaching to be in line with the current contact needs that feature across the field of architecture. 90% agrees that they need to improve in terms of the quality of the curriculum so that there will be an element of specialization and diversity if in the fields of architecture that allows optional pathway to hone the student talent. And also 82% agrees to have more collaboration with the industry in various kind of disciplines so that students can gain more exposure and experience. And 78% from the student feedbacks agree that quality of academician need to be strengthened. So this one is in terms of the upskilling and reskilling of the academician resources to be updated in terms of their delivery methods using the 21st century teaching concept. And also 95% agrees to have a more better kind of teaching and learning infrastructure for the convenience of the architectural students. From the feedback of the architecture academia, 84% agrees that the Ministry of Higher Education should cooperate with the human resource management so that each university can increase in terms of the intake of the academic staff. And 89% of academicians agree that they need to be involved with the industry so that they can be more aware with the needs and the current practice trend. And 74% agrees that they need to have more professional recognition in the academic scheme, while 92% agrees that all the load of academician need to be balanced, especially in teaching and learning, where it needs to be balanced with other parts of activities like research, publication, consultancy, community service, and so forth. And in terms of the quantity numbers of academics, 90% agrees that there should be a special incentive of funds to enable to increase the manpower, especially for the academic staff in the public universities. From the architect practice feedback, for more than 6 years of experience, 98% agrees that there should be an enhancement in terms of symbiotic partnership between practical architects and the university to help build the self-quality talent among academia and researchers towards creating a better future available teaching and learning curriculum. And also 95% agrees from the practice that to have more smart partnership. So in this sense, to have more enhanced facilitation of data and resource sharing. 86% agrees that architect practice should be mentorship to the academic and also students in the teaching and learning needs for research and professional services, and 92% are willing from the architect practice to be part of the involvement in building up the curriculum preparation for the architecture education as collaborators or as co-consultants. So from the alumni graduates for less than 5 years experience, 94% agrees that there should be a curriculum development enhancement which involve the curriculum and subjects matters that looking into OSH, which is occupational safety and health technology, and also materials, and also economic costing in the built industry to prepare students to be more aware in the industry when they've graduated and working in the architect firms. They also need to strengthen the application of the latest digital software skills in the market so that they can have an awareness in terms of this latest digital software to be applied when they work in the industry. And also many of the alumni graduates agree that to have more exposure to entrepreneurship skills and also to strengthen the generic and soft skills to be prepared to work in the industry. And more also in terms of the alumni graduates, 92% of them agree to have a wide exposure to the construction industry because this will enable students to gain the first-hand experience in practical project and management methods. So in this sense, we come up to a proposition for a future architecture education in Malaysia. So as you can see, we will look into the first strategy, which is global architecture education. And to achieve this, we need to have continuous engagement and exposure with industry experts, creative teaching and learning problem solving initiative. We need to have more bilateral collaborative engagement with selected architectural institution, and need to empower an easy access public database platform contains information of the industry and academic experts that can be shared by all. So in terms of second strategy for the proposition for future architecture education, we need to enhance to have a more balanced and integrative curriculum. So in this sense, we need to have a more value-driven base emphasizing ethical, integrity, spiritual, emotional, physical, and intellectual aspects for the curriculum. Need to have empowering in terms of the tendency towards specialization and multidisciplinary aspects in the curriculum, and need to adapt the concept of attribute-based education with appropriate pedagogy in the architectural studies, and also need to strengthen the importance of sustainable development issues and nationhood and also regional values in the curriculum of architecture. For strategy 3, to improve the quality to produce a more innovative and leadership graduates, the curriculum needs to inculcate and nourish more an attitude and practice of integrity among the graduate, need to strengthen the soft and employability skills, and also need to strengthen student-centered learning teaching methods, collaborative learning approach, contextual learning, problem-based learning in the core design subject, and also in the elective and curriculum course learning. Ladies and gentlemen, for strategy 4 to build the nationhood and nationalistic graduates, we need to instill a more inclusive and national identity values, and to enhance and foster and solidify more elements of culture, social values, and patriotism, and the need to strengthen more resilient values, practice, and adaptability among students and graduates in architecture. So this is very important actually for them to manage the demands of the current challenges when they work in the industry. In terms of strategy 5, we need to actually enhance the skill of the academician itself, especially in teaching and learning matters. So in this sense, we need to enhance the capabilities and empower academic talents, especially the academician, to have more kind of quality in terms of upskilling and reskilling. And also we need to look back into the planning and distributing of the workload of academic staff, especially in the public university, so that they can have a balanced rate for career development and promotion. And also we need to ensure a better quality service of architectural education and sustainability to have a betterment in terms of the academic staff productivity in teaching and learning. For the strategic 6 is looking into the community and the industry collaboration. All architecture school actually, it's better to propose to have a living lab among academic staff with the industry to develop knowledge and expertise as well as skills in architecture, so that it can be utilized by many parties like Gucci, which is involving government, university, community, and also the industry. In other words, we need also to appoint experts from the multidisciplinary industries that look into a lot of different fields of expertise to transfer their knowledge and resources. And also they need to have an establishment of special fund or incentives for excellence in education and architectural research, which can be symbiotically combined or interrelationship between the academia, industry, and also the community. For strategy 7, we need to improve the quality of the innovative studios and have more better advanced infrastructure for teaching and learning. So in this sense, all universities need to be equipped with the latest infrastructures comprising 60% digital facilities with artificial technology intelligence and 40% manual facilities. So all universities, it's good to have and share in investment, preparation, utilization, management, and monitoring of infrastructure with the industry so that they can have a potential to drive more research innovation towards the production of intellectual products for commercialization purposes. And also, we need to have a create a better big data platform that can contain architectural works and research findings that actually can be assessed and used by academicians from the private and also from the public universities and across many multidisciplinary for the benefit of students, designers, architectural practitioners, and also industry players. So, in conclusion, as you can see, we need to improve our architectural curriculum and it needs to feature the 21st century education learning. And this is very important and beneficial because it can produce graduates with more critical thinking, better communication skill, be more creative, innovation, and also have the value of global citizenship leadership. So, in this sense, we cannot achieve this if it's not being supported by the potential and also selective and also uh, talented resilient academic staff, and also we need to have the support and the collaboration with the industry players, and together with this we actually can improve our learning ecosystem and can have a better kind of latest technology studio infrastructure that is equipped with effective artificial intelligence architecture, and we can build the studio as a living lab. So all of this actually can guarantee to build a betterment in terms of our architecture education for the future. And this is very important for the architecture education not only in Malaysia but also at the global context. So with that, I would like to end my presentation today and I would like to say thank you to all.